everybody. Welcome back to the College Town Podcast. My name is Derek DeBurger. With me is Sam Roth.
How are we doing, guys?
This week it's ACC predictions.
It sure is.
We're going to dive deep into the ACC, what we think is going to happen this year.
We have two surprise wildcards, both of us.
Both of us do at the top of our rankings. Comment below who you think is going to win the ACC. We also have a poll on YouTube.
Yeah.
For who the winners of the ACC is going to be. Clemson's currently ahead.
Mm-hmm.
We also talk about a lot of violations going on currently in college football.
Yeah.
We talk about Mel Tucker, Colorado football. Is it dysfunctional? I don't know. And can you sell a college basketball team to private equity?
Yeah.
Can BlackRock own UNC?
Yeah.
Who knows? So we get into all of that. And, of course, we reveal our top 25, our preseason top 25 for football.
Yeah.
It's here on YouTube. It's also on our Instagram, but we talk about it in depth here in the episode. So we hope you enjoy. We hope you like the video if you like it, and maybe subscribe too. We'll see you in the episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the College Town Podcast. We're on week 3 of us predicting all the power conferences because football is less than 3 weeks away.
There we go. Yeah, it absolutely is.
What is it, 18 days away at this point, I think?
Yeah. 31st? No.
18 days.
Yeah.
18 days for week 0.
Yeah.
So we're so close. We're down the stretch. We
are.
But yes, as I previously mentioned, if you have not been keeping up, we have been starting last year, which is our first year doing this. We do power conference predictions for football the weeks leading up to the season. We have already done the SEC and the Big 12.
We have.
Now we are doing the ACC.
Yes, we are.
So let's jump into it. Who do you have winning the ACC?
I have the University of Miami.
Oh, you're drinking the Kool-Aid?
I wasn't, and then I looked at their schedule, and it doesn't seem extremely difficult. My only loss to them is Louisville. Outside of that, it's like the only reason Louisville is because Louisville's at home for that game. I do have them beating Florida State, though, at home for them. So, I think outside of really those two games are like the real big tests. Other than that, I don't really see too much difficulty within their schedule. I have them going 11-1, 7-1 in conference, but I also have 3 other teams going 7-1 in conference as well, and that would be Florida State, Clemson, and Louisville.
Okay. So you're pretty high in the ACC, at least at the top.
Yeah.
All right.
And then I have 2 more teams going 6-2 in North Carolina and NC State, and then right behind them is SMU with 5-3. SMU though, I really do like. I just think they'll struggle a little bit with like Florida State, Louisville. Yeah, and then who's their third loss? And I have a surprise upset to Duke.
Well, yeah, it's you're drinking the Kool-Aid. Miami. That's.
Am I really though?
I think so personally.
I think they got a better quarterback in.
No, I think Cam Ward is the best quarterback in the ACC.
Yeah.
And Miami's talent is insane.
Yeah, it is. It's just a matter of can they put it all together. But also, I think a lot of it's just their schedule. I mean, like, you can out-talent a good bit of teams.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
But,
what do you have? Any similarities? Any difference?
So, I have a 2-way tie for the best record in the ACC, which will go on, of course, to play in the ACC championship, and that is SMU.
Okay.
And Clemson.
SMU is kind of interesting. First year in, and they're just going to take the league by storm.
They have an easy schedule. Their toughest game is probably Florida State, but it's at home. I have them winning that game.
Wow.
Yes. Because here's my rationale behind it. I think Florida State's going to be undefeated going into that SMU game. I think SMU is going to be undefeated going into that game.
Yep.
If that's 2 undefeated teams playing at SMU, I feel like College Game Day is going to be there.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be like, oh, brand new, school in a brand new conference. They're lighting it up right now, but they have their first test against the team that won it all last year, at least in the ACC. And I just think SMU's fan base is a little bit of a fair weather fan base, but when the lights are bright, they are rabid. They are rabid. I think that environment is going to be insane, and I think SMU is going to pull off the upset against Florida State, because I don't think Florida State's going to be able to keep up with SMU's offense. And then ironically, I have them losing the next week to Louisville.
Yeah. So, it's bright, and then, I mean, it's interesting. I do think those two games are going to be their hardest games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just think last year was a good example of Rhett Lashley just took every week seriously. Mm-hmm. They lost some games in the non-conference that they should not have. Mm-hmm. But they absolutely took their schedule seriously. Oh, yeah. They went in there and they just blew out teams.
Yeah, I truly think SMU should have been in the New Year's Six Bowl rather than Liberty. That's how good I thought they were last year.
I mean, Liberty weren't undefeated. I didn't have an issue with it just because they were undefeated.
I just felt about the talent level though.
Yeah, but after SMU and Clemson, which I was a little bit surprised that I have Clemson going 10-2 overall, 7-1 in the ACC. Mm-hmm. I have a 4-way tie for third. That would be between Florida State, Miami, NC State, and Louisville.
I mean, we're pretty similar with our top 7, at least. It's just a little different in order.
Pretty similar, yeah.
I mean, no, it's the exact same top 7. Even top 8. Yeah. We
look at that.
Agree.
I noticed you have Georgia Tech down there pretty low.
Yeah, the issue with Georgia Tech for me is their schedule.
They have a tough schedule.
It's a very, very hard schedule. Like, I have them not winning an away game. Like, I have them beating I have Syracuse beating them, Louisville beating them, North Carolina, Virginia Tech, and Georgia. I mean, like, that is a very hard away schedule, in my opinion. And I just kind of chalked it up to that. I mean, like, it was very hard. I know Georgia Tech is a decent team. I just had a hard time finding a way to give them wins on the road, basically. That's what I really struggled to do here.
I think Brett Key is a great motivator. Like, I don't care how hard their schedule is. They're going to win a game, at least one game that they should not win.
Yeah, I can
at least
see
one.
It's just a really, really hard schedule. I mean, they got Notre Dame, Miami.
Like, yeah, they open up with Notre Dame,
State, Georgia. I mean, like, right there alone, that's 4 losses. And they also have to play 9 straight games. They don't get a bye week until week 10 and week 12. It doesn't favor them down the stretch at all.
No, but I do think that they, I think Brent Key is a great, I think he's a good offensive coach. I do. But on top of that, I think he's a great, like, raw guy.
Right.
I mean, they get up for teams. They only lost to Georgia last year by a possession. That's insane.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure, was it at Georgia or was it at... No, it was at Georgia Tech. But I just think that he's a great coach. Ultimately, here's what I think is going to happen with Brent Key. Actually, I'll take it back. He's not a great coach. He's a good coach. But I think that they are going to have, like, kind of okay seasons for a while. Mm-hmm. And then eventually Georgia Tech's going to fire him. And whoever they bring in to replace him is going to be so much worse. Yeah. And it's just going to be one of those things where it's like, oh my God, we never should have got rid of him.
The cycle's going to repeat itself.
Yeah.
Anything from this... Who do you have as finishing the worst? I, unfortunately, have Georgia Tech and Virginia. I really think Virginia is very poor this year.
I have Virginia finishing last.
See, what's tough for me is, like, Georgia Tech, I don't think is a 1-7 team. I just think their schedule says they're a 1-7 team in the conference. I also have Stanford, Cal down there, and so my 2-6 teams are Duke, Wake, Cal, Stanford, and then Virginia and Georgia Tech are 1-7 for me.
I've got Syracuse, Duke, and Stanford going 2-6 in conference. Pitt going 1-7, and Virginia going 0-8.
Okay.
I was a little shocked I picked Virginia to not win a game.
I mean, like, I was one of those things where I just could not give them a win, so I gave their win.
Boston College?
Yeah, Boston College.
I'm a little high on Boston College this year. I'm going 7-5.
I have them 6-6. So basically, without that game, we're pretty much the same.
Yeah. I just think they have one of the best quarterbacks in the ACC. Highly underrated, Thomas Castellanos. He is very good.
Okay.
Honestly, if I were to get, I know the ACC better than most conferences. I'll be honest, because Louisville's in it.
Right.
Pay more attention, unfortunately.
Or fortunately.
I try not to be biased, but I do pay more attention to the ACC.
Right.
But best quarterback, in my opinion, is Cam Ward. Second best, I think, is Haynes King, Georgia Tech's quarterback. He is fantastic. He's really good. Third best, I think, is Thomas Castellanos of Boston College. And on top of being the third best, they now have Bill O'Brien, who is a very good offensive coach.
Yeah. I totally forgot about that.
Yes.
He is at Boston College, isn't he?
Mm-hmm. I think he's a very good offensive coach. That defense, I'm not sure. There might be... I could see there being some, like, holdover talent from when Jeff Hafley was there, because Jeff Hafley was a very good defensive coach.
Okay.
They're kind of just doing, like, a 180 as far as, like, great defensive-minded coach to now they have a great offensive-minded coach. I think that they're going to have a solid year one, and with Thomas Castellanos on the roster, I think that they will be able to build for the future.
What is funny is I have 12 teams out of the 17 being bowl eligible.
I think I have 13. No, I have 12. Yeah.
So, I mean, like...
I mean, that's the thing with the ACC is last year the ACC had the most bowl eligible teams out of any conference.
Right.
Because of two factors. One, they only play 8 conference games.
So they have
which the SEC does as well. I think it's stupid for both conferences. Just move to 9. Like, what are you doing? Everyone else plays 9. Move to 9.
But it helps your bowl eligibility when you can beat up on a fluff team, for lack of a better word.
Yes. Also, the ACC had a lot of teams in the middle that could kind of just beat up on each other.
Yeah, I truly do believe there's like tiers to this. So I really believe like the Cal to like Pitt area, maybe even Boston College, with Boston College, Pitt, Syracuse, Duke, Wake, California, maybe even Stanford, anybody's game. You could turn on that game, it's anybody's game.
I think Cal is definitely better than them.
Oh,
No, I think Cal is better. Cal has a solid coach. They have arguably the best running back in the ACC.
Mm-hmm.
It's between him and Amarion Hampton
Okay.
at North Carolina. Their running back, by the way, is Jaden Knott. Remember that name. He's phenomenal.
All right.
Phenomenal. Yeah, I have Cal going 7-5. I think Pitt, to me, is going to suck again.
Really?
Because the reason they were terrible last year is they had awful quarterback play. I don't like who they brought in. I feel bad because I can't remember who they brought in, but I think who they brought in was terrible again. And so I think that their offense is going to suck once again.
Yeah.
They have Pat Narduzzi. He's a great defensive coach. Their games are going to be ugly. I just think they're going to suck.
Right.
I just do. And I see you picked him against West Virginia.
Of course.
Because you hate the Mountaineers.
It's not even bias at this point. It's just hatred.
Yeah, well, I would argue that that's the same thing,
No,
essentially.
It's completely different.
Let's move back to the top.
Yeah, absolutely. So with Clemson, what do you have them going?
I have them 10-2 and 7-1.
Same here. Who are your 2 losses to? I think that we have the same ones.
Georgia.
Yes.
I struggle seeing them beat Georgia, and I have them losing to Florida State.
Same. Exact same here.
Oh, look at that. I think that the App State game could be a lot closer than people are thinking. I'm pretty high on App State this year.
Yeah.
I don't think that they're going to win that game, but I do think that could be a close one.
I gotcha. And then, so Florida State, what do you have them at? 10-3? 9-3?
9-3.
So I have them losing to Miami and Notre Dame. I'm going to take a guess and say you have SMU beating them?
Yep. Miami, Notre Dame, and SMU. That's their 3 losses for me.
Okay. And then Miami. I have them going 11-1 with their only loss to Louisville. If I take a guess, you have them losing to Louisville and Florida State.
No. I have them beating. Oh, I have them losing to Florida, Cal, and Louisville. All games on the road. My rationale behind this is Florida is. I don't care if Florida's just going to be a super, super average team next year.
They have talent.
Some. I'm not super high on Florida's talent. I'm not. I think Florida's just going to be extremely average. But it doesn't matter. The Swamp is an extremely tough place to play.
Yeah.
It is a very, very tough place to play. And so I just think week 1, I'm just kind of calling my shot right now. I'm giving Florida the nod. Even though I think Miami's going to have a much better season than Florida. Much better season.
Oh, yeah.
I'm giving Florida the nod over Miami here. Also, with Cal, they have to fly out to Cal. Cal, I think, is a solid team. With a really, really good running back. But yes, exactly. It's cross country at the end of a stretch where you play 6 games in a row. And then I have them losing to Louisville. Despite the fact that it's coming off a bye week, I don't think that matters for Cristobal. I just don't think he's a good enough coach. I think when you look at Cristobal, he kind of has a cap, and he needs a really, really good quarterback to hit that cap. I think he has a really, really good quarterback, and I think he will hit that regular season cap, which is about 9 wins.
Okay.
I don't think he's ever won more than 9 wins or 9 games in a regular season.
I got you.
They've had a 10-3 year, where I think they won the Rose Bowl with Herbert, but that's because he had Justin Herbert.
Right. All right. What about NC State for you? I have them going 9-3, 6-2 in conference. I have them losing to Tennessee, Clemson, and North Carolina.
I got Tennessee. I got Clemson. I have them losing to Georgia Tech.
Ah, okay.
I think that's one of those games where Georgia Tech is going to get one they shouldn't.
Honestly, though, if they beat Tennessee at home...
It's not at home. It's at
it's
Nashville.
a neutral site?
I believe it's either Nashville or Charlotte.
Okay.
It's one of the two.
Well, if it is a neutral site game, and they find a way to win that game, or even go into Clemson and find a win, they could be on track for a very good season.
I think both of those are winnable games.
They could realistically... it's improbable because NC State doesn't strike me as a team right now with losing a good bit of talent as a team that can run the table, but it's definitely on the cards.
I think I struggled to say that like an 11-1 season is feasible for them simply because Dave Doran's never really shown that.
Yeah.
His window is just like 7-5 to 9-3.
Right.
He never does worse. He never does better. Even when they've had like fantastic talents, they just don't get outside of that range. They've kind of just been so average.
Right.
Under Dave Doran. I don't know. Sometimes coaches are really average for a long time, and then they just finally take that next step.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Because with Grayson McCall, I think a lot of this hinges on Grayson McCall. Because I think their defense is going to take a step back. Because they lost the Terminator to the draft.
They lost Peyton Wilson.
I do think their defense is still going to be really good, but it's going to take a step back. You can't lose that guy. You can't lose the Terminator and expect to be... He was the Terminator, man. He was
extremely
insane.
Yeah.
But a lot of this preseason hype is hinging on Grayson McCall. I'm a little iffy on Grayson McCall. The reason is because he had 3 really good years at Coastal Carolina.
Yep.
Entered the transfer portal, decided to take his name out of the portal for a 4th year at Coastal. But he didn't have his coach. Jamie Chadwell left to go to Liberty. And then he struggled. Now he's going to NC State. I'm a little weary. Like, did he just have a down year? Or was Jamie Chadwell behind all the success? because I think Jamie Chadwell is a phenomenal coach. Fantastic coach. I think Jamie Chadwell's great. I don't know if his game is going to translate to the ACC without a great play caller like Jamie Chadwell. I just don't know. I do think Tennessee is literally a toss-up game. I think Clemson's a winnable game. And then their other loss, which is, in my mind, Georgia Tech, that's obviously a winnable game as well. But I don't know. I don't know if they can make that step.
I gotcha.
All right. Let's get to my... Do you have anything else you want to talk about before I get to my...
As far as the ACC goes.
My
most of it, yeah.
hot start, hot finish teams?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, starting off, I have a lot of hot start teams for the ACC. And part of that is because they play non-conference games.
4 non-conference games. Majority of them usually are cupcakes.
You can really just stack up easy dubs.
It does help when you can get 4 easy wins and all you need is 2 in conference to be bowled.
Which is exactly what I had for Syracuse.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the Bill Snyder technique. Bill Snyder would just schedule nothing but the most garbage teams, and then he'd pad Kansas State's record of 9-3, and everyone's like, he's a great coach. Actually, they wouldn't play 12 games back then. They'd be 9-2.
Right.
Everyone's like, he's a great coach, which he was a good coach, but they played nobodies.
Right.
That's why they never won a national championship.
Mm-hmm.
Hate to say it. Anyway, I got Florida State starting off 4-0, and then also getting to 6-1.
Right.
With that one loss being SMU. I'm telling you, SMU's going to be really, really good. Their schedule, I think SMU is probably not going to be as good as their record indicates, I think, but their schedule is just so manageable. They have such a manageable schedule. Other than that, I have Miami starting off 4-1, with their only loss being to Florida. They beat Florida. I feel like they're going to start off 5-0.
Yep.
I have Louisville starting off 7-0, with their first slip up coming to Boston College. I think.
I would love that.
Here's what I feel about Braun. He is always good for a win that he shouldn't get. He's a sucker for a trap game. He will fall for the trap 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 times. His record after beating top... I know after top 5 teams, he's 0-3 after beating top 5 teams. Mm-hmm. I think his record is also 0 after beating top 10 teams. But Boston College comes squarely in between Miami and Clemson. I just think that he's going to get caught looking ahead to Clemson, slip up, lose to Clemson as well, and then I have him losing to Kentucky, unfortunately. Until he, you can do it. Until you can show you can do it. I can't in good conscience pick Louisville beating Kentucky.
That's funny, because that's what I picked too.
Yeah.
I have them losing to Kentucky too.
Yes. This next one might be a little bit of a shocker. Maybe not. I have North Carolina starting off 6-0, and then also 7-1 on top of that.
I don't think that's crazy at all.
I just think the beginning of their schedule is just so easy.
I have them starting 7-1.
I think they legitimately could start the season 8-0.
They could.
Because I think Minnesota's going to suck.
The JMU game could be interesting.
I would say James Madison lost their coach, though. I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to be a competitive game. Yeah, North Carolina just has the most workable schedule for the first 8 games.
Oh
yeah. I've got Virginia Tech starting off 4-0. I've got Syracuse starting off 4-1. Virginia Tech, I'm not really buying the hype, like a lot of people say.
It's just easy games.
Yeah, I'm just not buying it. Hot finishes. I have Clemson winning their final 7 games. As do you, because I think we picked the same exact thing for Clemson.
Yep.
I have Miami winning their final 5. And I have NC State winning 7 of their last 8. So, which I think we're the same there. Which had a different one.
Different one pick. Yep.
Out of all of them that we've done, I honestly feel the most confident about my ACC predictions.
Really? SMU 11-1.
Well, with both the SEC and the Big 12, there were teams that I predicted to not do well that I was very much like, I could see them kind of having an average year. Like, I picked them to not do well. I could see them being average.
I mean,
I think that's the same. I've already done my Big 10 predictions on here just because it's clicking buttons. It's so easy. Mm-hmm. There's a team, especially in the Big 10, that I predicted them to have a bad year that I'm like, they could just be average, and I could really be missing on
That's where I felt about Georgia Tech. It was like, their schedule's just so hard.
They do have a really tough schedule.
Where it's like, I know they're a better team than this, but it's just like, I just can't find wins. I'm sure they're going to claw their way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, realistically, they probably aren't a 3-9 team. They could be a 4-8, 5-7, I feel like.
I think I picked them to go 5-7.
Right, and so, like, they might scratch away and get a couple of wins, but, I mean, like, it just is a really hard schedule. They probably have the hardest schedule.
They don't have an easy schedule. I think Louisville, with the breakdown of their schedule, kind of got screwed because they play 7 games in a row without a bye. And then the first game that they come off their bye, their second bye of the year, is Stanford. So they have to travel cross country. So, and then also on Louisville's schedule, Clemson, Miami, and a third team.
Notre Dame? Or are you talking ACC?
No. It's not Notre Dame. There's 3 teams Louisville plays they're coming off. Oh, it's Stanford, I think. Miami, Clemson, and Stanford, I believe, all have byes right before they play Louisville. Mm. And then there's also several teams that have extra days of rest before they play Louisville. Louisville got no favors this year in the schedule. They got the biggest favor last year in their schedule, so it's like, you know, you can't really complain all that much. But, yeah, I mean, that's all I have in the ACC. You got anything else?
No, not really.
All right. Just real quick before we move on from the ACC, the preseason. Here's who they picked to top the ACC this season. Florida State, number 1.
81 votes.
For first place. They got a lot of votes overall. But number 1, Florida State, then Clemson.
With 55.
Then Miami.
17.
NC State.
Got 8.
Yeah. Louisville.
Did not get a single vote for first place.
And then
finished 5th.
I'll go through 7. Then you got Virginia Tech, very close behind Louisville in the overall points, had 5 first place votes.
So I think that just goes to show that people are picking Louisville to be a more consistent team than Virginia Tech. There's just a few more people higher up on Virginia Tech.
And then you have SMU, the newcomer, at 7.
Which I think is completely fair and valid.
Boston College, Georgia Tech, and Cal also got first place votes.
Which is kind of funny.
Which is just the biggest homer picks. Like, guys, relax. I think Boston College, they're predicting Boston College to go 14th in the ACC. I think they're going to do better than that. But, yeah, they're not going to win it.
Yep.
All right. Some quick news, because I forgot to put it in our show notes, but our preseason top 25 is out.
Yeah, it is.
And so let's just go through that real quick.
Oh, I thought we already did this, but okay.
No, we didn't do this.
We did? Okay,
no.
Let's do it.
Because it just officially came out yesterday.
I got you. No worries.
All right, number 1, no surprise, we have Georgia.
Yep.
Followed by Ohio State. Sorry, my brain went dead there for a second.
You're okay.
Followed by Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, and Ole Miss in the top 5.
I think it's a very solid top 5.
It's a very... I think that's what the top 5 is going to look like.
I think it makes
in the
sense.
AP poll. I don't think we're far off from that. Then we have Alabama, Florida State, Missouri, Notre Dame, Penn State to round out the top 10.
Don't have any issues with those.
Yeah, not really. Then we have Utah, LSU, Tennessee, Oklahoma, USC, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Michigan, Clemson, Arizona, Washington, Miami, NC State, Louisville, and Kansas to round out the rest of the top 25. Mm-hmm. So, most notable thing to me about this is Washington.
Really?
Yeah, they lost a lot.
They did.
I think Washington is in just for a rough season compared to last year.
Here's what I'm surprised by is after doing the research and everything, people are still high on Michigan. I get they won the national championship last year, but they only have 6 returning starters for offensive, defensive, and their kicker and punter and all that. They have 6 returning starters, and they didn't really do too great in the transfer portal. I don't know how well they are in reloading, but I'm not very high on Michigan personally.
The defense is going to be really good.
Is it though?
Yes, defense is going to be really good. They have the best corner in the country. They might not be returning starters on defense, a ton of them. They had depth last year,
Okay.
and a lot of those guys are just older.
Okay.
They're just moving up. I think the defense for Michigan is going to be lights out. I don't know about the offense. The offense is a big question mark for me.
That's the other thing I have about another team on there, and that's LSU. It's like they had the Heisman Trophy winner last year. They had all this talent and all this stuff, right? And
Also lost their top 2 wide receivers in the draft.
And Mikhail Napiers and I forget.
Malik Neighbors and the other guy,
Yeah, the other guy.
Feel bad for the other guy.
Yeah, sorry, other guy. But that offense carried that team last year, and that defense was abysmal.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like a lot of question marks.
They also
on
lost their
LSU.
offensive coordinator to
Right.
Notre Dame.
So I feel like there's just a lot of question marks surrounding this LSU team that I really don't have answers for. So I think that might be the 2 teams for me where it's Michigan and LSU where I'm like, I think they could struggle.
Looking at the top 10, every year in the AP poll, there's a top 10 team that ends unranked.
Mm-hmm.
Also, with our poll last year, there was a top 10 team that ended unranked. That was USC.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think? Looking at it, who do you think could end unranked this year? Because
Unranked?
I feel like there's a clear top 2, with the one being far more obvious than the 2. In my opinion.
Based off of everything in schedules that I've seen, I'm going with Alabama and Missouri.
Alabama was not who I was thinking.
Because it's more so Missouri.
Missouri, yes.
Because it's the SEC and it's going to be tough and it's going to be a gauntlet. And then Alabama, there's
I don't
just...
think Missouri has that tough a schedule.
Right. But then also it's, I mean, like Penn State, I think they should be very well in the Big Ten. They should stay ranked. Same with Oregon, same with Ohio State in the Big Ten. Georgia should stay consistent. Texas should do all right in the SEC. I'm really high on Ole Miss, so I just can't say Ole Miss.
Yeah.
So part of me wants to say Alabama just because I know they lost in the portal. I know the changes are being made. It's a new coach, new year. Did Kalen DeBoer only do well in Washington because he had, what's his name?
Michael Penix.
Yeah, he had Michael Penix, he had Romeo Duzet. Like he had talent around him and stuff like that. Is that why they did well? Or is it because he's a good coach?
I think it's the latter.
All right.
They did not have a single 5-star high school recruit on that team. I think he also won multiple national championships at the NAIA level. Almost got Indiana into the playoff when he was their offensive coordinator. Like, that's insane. Did great at Fresno State. I think he's going to do great at Alabama. I just think they're going to have a tiny little step back because it's year 1. They lost some guys in the portal.
What does Notre Dame's schedule look like? I haven't honestly looked at it.
It's not that bad.
Because it would probably be like those 3. It'd be Notre Dame, Missouri, and Alabama are my picks.
In my opinion, it's Missouri. Missouri is the most likely to end up unranked because they lost a ton from that defense, plus their defensive coordinator. That defense is the biggest question mark by far for this Missouri team. They do retain, though, Brady Cook, starting quarterback, and Luther Burton, one of the best wide receivers in the country. The defense is it's too iffy. It's too iffy for me. And then number 2 for me was Notre Dame, simply because I'm just not super high on Marcus Freeman. I think he's a very good defensive coordinator. I don't think he's a great head coach.
But they did just bring in LSU's offense coordinator.
Yeah.
So, who put up lights out numbers with Jaden McDaniels.
I mean, how much of that was him? How much of that was Jaden Daniels?
I think it's a mixture. I mean, it does help when you have a very talented quarterback
and wide receiver core.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. Anything else about the top 25 stands out to you?
No, not really.
Utah was the first team to miss out the top 10, of course, being 11. I had them in the top 10 in my ballot.
I don't think I did.
Yeah. A lot of these, though, a lot of the teams that we have ranked, very similar to like the preseason media polls for each conference. You know, it's like for the SEC, it's like Georgia, Texas. Ole Miss is above Alabama. I think Alabama was above Ole Miss in the preseason media poll, but we're high on Ole Miss.
I got you.
You know, if you just go down the line of conferences, it's kind of chalky, to a degree, but yeah, it's a solid top 25. If you're curious of the people getting votes that were not in the top 25, we have Liberty, Iowa, Kentucky, SMU, A&M, and North Carolina.
Yeah.
I believe Iowa, Kentucky, A&M, and I know Iowa, Kentucky, and A&M, but I think North Carolina as well all got votes last year, but did not make the top 25 in the preseason, which is interesting because they're all right back here. So, with a couple more added in Liberty and SMU.
It is interesting that you have your ACC champion is preseason not ranked for us.
Well, I ranked them.
Oh, I don't doubt it. You did.
Yeah, I'm the only one that ranked them. That's why they didn't make it.
It's also funny though. Is like I ranked Georgia number 1, but I have them going 9-3 this year.
That's wild.
So it's also like I preseason ranked them 1, but I think throughout the course of the season they will go 9-3.
It's interesting.
Oh, it sure is.
All right. Let's move on to the news. Which, by the way, the AP top 25 is probably going to come out Monday of next week.
Oh yes, that's exciting.
So we will talk about that then.
What are we talking about now?
That would be the news. That would be probably the biggest news. Is they say you never want to be in the news in July,
or August.
Yeah, the same holds true about early August.
Yeah.
And the majority of people that are in the news,
they're bad.
Actually, everyone in the news is not in the news for good reasons.
No, they're not.
Except for one bit of basketball news, but that's the football. It's not good. Let's start off with the big one. That would be Michigan. That's right. The NCAA notice of allegations leaked. Their draft of it, by the way. This is not the official notice that they were going to give to Michigan. It's just a draft. The NCAA, after it did get leaked, the NCAA was very clear. They're like, hey, this will not be the final copy. Like, stuff's going to change. They have implicated, I believe, 13 Michigan coaches in their notice of allegations. One of them, of course, being Sherone Moore.
Who's the head coach now of Michigan.
I think they left Harbaugh out just because they were like, who cares?
Can't get to him.
Either they couldn't find anything on Harbaugh, which it would be genuinely shocking,
but then
or they're like, oh, he's the NFL's problem.
But it's also crazy because at some point you would assume that there would be sanctions for someone if there was any evidence towards him.
Yeah.
To prevent him from coming back to the sport.
Yeah. But
anyway.
All right, we're back. Sorry about that. My dog had some operations, and he's a little drugged up right now. So
he is.
I'm having to keep an ear to the ground. Anyway.
Yep.
Well, I was talking about Connor Stallions.
Yep.
Connor Stallions. The NCAA found that he was indeed in disguise on the Central Michigan sideline. No idea how they acquired the pass. That might be the new notice of allegations, the final draft when they come out with that.
Yeah.
Another interesting thing is they found I don't think they named the school. They found that he scouted one school 7 different times in a season. Go. 7 times.
Could it be one that is just south of them, starts with an O, ends with a state?
Yeah, I think that would be my guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, he was just cheating his little booty off. Sherone Moore texted him 52 times about all the incidents that he apparently deleted the text.
Yep.
And what was the most interesting to me is that we all know that the NCAA is useless, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of suck. They're powerless these days.
They are.
They didn't do any of this research. Do you know that?
No.
It was handed to them by Big Ten schools. They were just annoyed with Michigan.
That's kind of funny.
Big Ten schools did all the research for this, and they just gave it to the NCAA. That's why they know this stuff. But, I mean, there's not going to be... I hate to spoil it for you. There's not going to be a big punishment. They can't take away national championships in football because they don't have that authority, because the national championship in football is not an NCAA event, technically. College football playoff and the BCS going back then are not...
It's a third party.
It's a third party. And so they don't have the authority to take those away. They're probably just going to give them a massive fine. So, whereas in basketball, they routinely like to vacate tournament wins because they actually own the tournament. Mm-hmm. They don't own any of the postseason of college football.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, in football, you can cheat and get away with it.
To a degree, yeah.
You just have to pay money. You just have to have money.
A little bit. Yeah.
But the history stands, everything else stands, nothing gets vacated.
For the most part.
Sounds like you should cheat in football.
Yeah. Well, let's go to our next school that cheated and got caught.
Yeah.
Kentucky. We actually literally talked about, like, not Kentucky, but schools doing this exact same thing last week.
Yeah.
We talked about it last week. So Kentucky, in 2021, got caught having 11 players basically get NIL money for doing nothing.
Apparently it was the football team and swimming team.
Swimming team was a different thing.
Huh.
Swimming team just, they practiced too many times.
Huh.
That's all it was. Though they got lumped into this.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah, so so what happened is 11 players, 11 got caught. We know more about this because we're in Kentucky. I know it was a lot more than 11 players.
Right.
I've heard from sources that it's a lot more than 11 players, but only 11 got caught. So 11 players got caught receiving money from UK Healthcare, which is basically UK's med school. Mm-hmm. They received money for them on days that they never actually showed up and worked. Oh. Which is essentially the university paying the players, which I'm a little conflicted on. Because I think that should be allowed. B, it's going to be allowed next year.
Right. Literally
next year, it's going to not be illegal for schools to do that. They were trying to do it 4 years too early, so it is a punishable offense, but morally, I don't think it's that
rough.
It's not that big a deal.
Right.
However, the school... So, the only reason that this got out is because someone at UK Healthcare got in trouble for this, and then this leaked to local papers, which then made its way back to the NCAA. The NCAA and Kentucky have mutually agreed to vacate the entire 2021 season, which was a successful year for Kentucky. They went 10-3. Which means vacating their bowl win because they did it voluntarily.
Okay.
And now they're also on a 2-year probation period.
To not pay people out of their pocket.
To not get caught paying.
So here's my question. A 2-year probation period for this violation, right? Yeah. They do it next year, it's okay though. So it's going to be violating probation.
Nope.
Okay.
Starting in the 2025 academic calendar.
Makes sense. All right.
Yeah. I mean, I'm very conflicted about this because this is just, on the one hand, it's just such blatant cheating by Stoops. and Kentucky, which Stoops is a cheater. He's cheated at Kentucky since he's got there. Let's be honest. They started getting 4 stars immediately. And it's like, okay. There's no way you guys are getting 4 stars legitimately.
Hey.
But on the other hand, it's like it's a school paying players, which is like I don't have a problem with it.
Nope.
I don't have any issue with that.
The issue is that they started doing it before there was bylaws in place to protect everybody.
Yeah. Also, Kentucky, Kentucky's president is like the university president is talking out of both sides of his mouth here. He's saying that on the one hand, coaches had no idea that players were showing up or were getting paid to not show up.
Mm-hmm.
And they're also saying, no. All 11 players actually did show up and work. They just all forgot to clock in. That's literally what the school said.
So which one is it?
Exactly. And it's not a shocker that Kentucky agreed. Like, oh, yeah. Sure, we'll vacate this season. We don't care.
No.
Because, like, vacating wins is not a real thing.
No.
It happened. I know it happened.
Yeah.
But it's goofy.
There we go.
Quickie news before we get back to the juicy one.
Yeah.
Mel Tucker has officially filed a lawsuit against Michigan State for his firing. I believe it is a wrongful termination lawsuit.
Yeah.
I didn't look that much into it, and the reason I didn't look that much into it is I don't think he has any ground to stand on.
I mean, if they did their due process, there will be no ground to stand on. And knowing a university, they definitely did their due process because it was like the whole wording behind it when he was getting fired was like he's on administrative leave. They did that first, and then he eventually did get fired. But it was like as soon as he got put on administrative leave and everyone knew what was going on, they're like, oh, he's getting fired. Yeah. They just couldn't officially fire him because they had to let due process take its course.
Yeah, it was a Title IX issue, which I will say Utah State handled their Title IX issue significantly better than Michigan State. Because it goes back to, I said it last year, I think Michigan State was just trying to see if they could sweep this under the rug, but then when it got out in like local newspapers, then they had to can him.
Yeah.
They were forced to.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think he's going to win. I would be shocked if he does. If he does, who cares? I don't know. He's not a good guy, but like I don't care either way.
Right.
But that's basically all it is. And then, of course, we have the... Actually, you know, we'll talk about this before we talk about Colorado, because everyone loves to talk about Colorado.
Yeah.
Steve Cragthorpe.
Yeah.
Former Tulsa and Louisville.
He was not that great here.
He wasn't good at Tulsa either. Head coach of Tulsa and Louisville football. He died at 59. Very young. Very young to die. He had Parkinson's. Not really much else to say.
No.
Sure, he was not a good coach, but it's like death is not good.
No, it is.
Hot take. That's my hot take for the 2024 season. Death is not good. You can write that one down now. Trust me. Timestamp this. I said it right here first. Death is not good.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. It's sad, actually, too.
It is.
Yeah.
It is sad.
It's brave of you to agree with me.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It's very hard on that hot take.
Anyway.
You said it.
No, I didn't.
You said hot take of 2024.
No, I'm moving on. Anyway. Athlon Sports. You ever heard of them?
Nope.
Really?
No.
Okay.
I think you have.
Yes, I have.
Never heard of them.
I was just being goofy, and you're like, no, I've never heard of them once.
No, because I haven't.
Okay.
That was a genuine question.
It wasn't? Okay.
Anyway.
Athlon Sports released an article about Colorado football. You ever heard of it?
Ooh, Colorado football?
Yeah.
Only the past couple of years.
Yeah. Mel Tucker used to coach there.
Really?
Yeah, won Coach of the Year.
No, didn't know that.
Yeah, that's why he got the Michigan State job.
Oh, there you go.
Anyway. Tying it all back.
Okay.
Colorado... Athlon Sports wrote an article about Colorado, their football team, the locker room. And they're suggesting, essentially, that their locker room is an absolute disaster. They interviewed a bunch of players anonymously.
Current and former.
Yeah. One of them said that the locker room was essentially just Grand Theft Auto.
The video game.
Yeah. with guns and money everywhere. Which there is at least a slight recorded. All right, we're back.
I know.
We turns out our SD card was full.
How about that?
What are you gonna do?
What
we were
We've
talking
only
about.
been doing this for a year.
Yeah. Over. What we were talking about is that there is at least a slight recorded gun problem in Colorado's locker room. Multiple players have been either arrested or on gun charges, or have been recording themselves with guns.
There's been recordings of guns. There was one player who was charged with domestic violence with a weapon.
Yeah.
All those charges were dropped due to, quote, a lack of evidence.
Yeah.
So there is somewhat a reported incidence of this issue going on.
It's a non-zero
right
factor. But a lot of other people commented anonymously that Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, if you will, fostered a culture of bullying in the locker room.
Yeah.
Both coaches to players and also
player to player.
Player to player. He reportedly said that someone said that he forced two players to fight each other, which is kind of insane.
There's quite a few things. Cormy McLean, former wide receiver, 5-star talent, was one that took a lot of heat. Said a former player that used to play there anonymously. A quote: Komani was taking a lot of heat after the Oregon State game. Shiloh slapped him several times. Shiloh Sanders, who is the safety for Colorado, slapped him several times, which left Kamani screaming, "I'm going to kill you," repeatedly. Also, another instance was Jordan Seaton, another 5-star recruit, was allegedly bullied into, quote, proving his manhood, and was picked to fight a former CU lineman, Savion Washington.
Yeah,
and apparently that one got into the point to where they were blowing blows and there was blood everywhere across the locker room, allegedly.
Yeah. Though that's like the details of the bad allegations. All of those sources were anonymous. They were apparently current and former players. Multiple players have come out and said that
this isn't true.
Yeah,
they denied it,
including Cormani McLean. Cormani McLean came out and was like, Shiloh Sanders never slapped me." So it's really just a he said, she said type of thing, where it's like, I don't know.
We don't know what to believe at this point as far as it goes. It does beg the question that if there's enough stuff being said about it, there has to be a little bit of truth to it, right?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't want to like look into it and to be like, oh, I think this one's true and I think this one's not.
Because you can't pick and choose them.
Yeah, it's really hard to do that. Also, like, so many people literally just want to destroy Colorado football.
Yeah.
Like, so many people hate Colorado and Deion Sanders.
Yeah.
You can be annoyed with them. That's fine. To a degree, I find Shedeur Sanders annoying.
Yeah.
Even though I think he's a phenomenal quarterback. He's slightly annoying. I think he's definitely slightly immature. Like, you can see that. But, like,
yep.
Also, he's, like, what, 20, 21? He's a young guy.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to read too much into honestly any of this. Let's just see how the season plays out.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many people. I feel like there's so few people that are kind of just like meh on Colorado. They kind of just don't care that much.
Right.
I think there's so many people that want to watch them crash and burn.
Yeah.
And there's so many people that are like, no, guys, they're going 10-2 this year.
Right.
We'll see.
Yeah.
See how it plays out.
Absolutely.
They played North Dakota State week 1.
It's going to be a tough one.
I'm excited about that game,
I think
actually.
it'll be a good one, yeah.
All right. As promised, the basketball news.
Yeah.
I think it's our only non-football news.
Yeah, checks out.
Schools are doing a good job of staying out of the
heat of.
They're staying out of the headlines, which is great for schools.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a fun one. Howard basketball, men's basketball. Howard, often referred to as the Black Harvard.
Mm-hmm.
It's an HBCU.
In DC, Bison.
Go Bison. I have a friend that went to Howard, so by default, it's my favorite HBCU.
There you go.
So yeah, but Howard's men's basketball coach, Kenny Blakeney, is trying to sell 1/3 of the basketball team to private equity for $100 million, which then values the team at $300 million.
Checks out.
The funniest thing about this is that he has not informed the university. They clearly know about it now because there was an article written about it.
Mm-hmm.
But prior to the article coming out, he told no one at the school. He was literally just like meeting with friends. It's like, hey, you want to buy this, 1/3 of this college basketball team, this MEAC basketball team? That's the conference they're in.
Right.
Yeah, he said he knew a lot of people who wanted to buy NBA teams but didn't have that kind of money. He said they were rich but not like that rich.
Right.
Um,
Which honestly, the more and more you think about it, the valuation of it, like
it's high.
Is it though? Because like on the high end of like a very, very successful NBA team,
you're gonna spend like $4 billion.
Way more. No, it's like $8 billion.
You sure?
I mean, like New York Knicks. It's also partly because they own real estate in New York.
Yeah,
in Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, Jim Dolan owns Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, so that right there, it's probably that's the highest valued, and the next is like Golden State and the Celtics,
which is probably like $4 billion.
More, I think. Because
I don't think so.
Because I think the Timberwolves just were trying to get sold.
I just don't think that it's. I think it's a very large valuation. I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sportico values them at $8.2 billion, which is
for Golden State.
Yeah.
But and then the other aspect of it
which is
like,
above the Knicks.
Right. Which
I guess makes it make more sense.
So I mean like 300 million to 8.2, obviously in the grand scheme of things, it's a drop in the bucket. You could buy what's 82 divided by 3?
I don't know. What's 81? That's 81's divisible, so that's close. Was that 27?
Yeah, so you could buy 27 Howards before you could buy the Warriors. I think that's a fair valuation.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, so I don't think it's that far off.
I see. I was thinking that NBA teams were closer to $4 billion.
Like, what do you think? Like, I think like Duke or UNC or Kentucky's worth $4 billion.
$4 billion? No.
Like at least 2.
No, I would give them $1 billion.
$1 billion?
Yeah.
You think on the high end college is only worth $1 billion?
Yes.
The brand?
Yes.
Not the brand, but the basketball team itself.
Yes.
Then I don't think $300 million is too far off for.
And even then, honestly, you got to throw Louisville in there as well.
Oh no, you shouldn't.
Because this is actually interesting. This is a side note. Revenue numbers came out.
Apparently, Louisville's one.
Yeah, this is revenue, not profit.
Right.
Louisville's usually the most profitable basketball program in the country, but obviously not this past year because Kenny Payne ruined everything. Louisville's still the most not profitable. They still have the highest revenue of any basketball program. It is insane.
Yeah.
It's just, but that was beside the point. This is about Howard. Yeah, I mean,
you say
you're
100
right.
million's too high. I'm like,
no, I think I agree with you now.
I think it's pretty accurate for what a basketball team is worth. Because imagine you were able to own a portion of a collegiate team.
Yeah, and his idea, he said, was that revenue would be split 3 ways, between the school, the program, and the investors. So
yeah, you put money back into the school, put money back into the program, and then your investors get to keep
school and program. Obviously, it's a nonprofit. You got to just keep the money churning.
Right.
Investors, I don't know. That'd be a different story. Blakeney said that this was, of course, a way for Howard to remain competitive and also compete for national championships. He said he's also looked at trying to get Howard into a better conference than the MEAC. Blakeney's God dang it. We'll just we'll do this and then we'll wrap it up. Yeah. Blakeney's a solid coach. He's taken Howard to back-to-back NCAA tournaments when their previous NCAA tournament was in the 90s. So he is a good coach. It's so crazy that he's not telling the school about any of this, that he's just trying to do it on his own. Also, I have to imagine that this is connected in some way to Florida State exploring selling part of their athletic department to private equity, because that's how they were trying to finance getting out of the ACC. And at the time, we were like, that can't be allowed, right? That can't be allowed. But yeah. So I think he saw that and was like, let's see if it is allowed.
Yeah.
Let's try it out. Like, I don't think this story happens without Florida State exploring the idea.
Right.
And potentially, if he can actually do this
and find a way to keep the school nonprofit.
And even if he does sell it, I think it would go through lawyers and judges to see if it's actually allowed.
Can you sell a stake of
Well, I think if he does this, what's stopping Florida State?
Nothing. I mean, I think there's eventually going to be a groundwork set to where this is going to be able to happen, and if it's not allowed to happen, there's going to be laws changed to where it is going to be able to happen because of the.
It'd be interesting. It'd be really, really.
There's going to be some amendment changed in some law that prevents it. That's going to be like, all right, Congress is going to be like, nonprofits are not allowed to do this unless it's an athletic whatever. There's eventually there's going to be private equity within college sports.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the way it's going to go.
Yeah. Blakeney did say that if he were able to get someone to buy a third of the team for $100 million, then he would take every single penny of that $100 million and just spend it into the program. Better uniforms, better facilities, better weight rooms, stuff like that.
Better players.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But I think on the surface it's insane. But I think when you think about it, it's kind of like, I guess this kind of makes sense.
If you honestly, it's really what it is college sports is going to turn into an arms race.
It has been an arms race.
And it's going to continue. Because if you're not trying to find a way to get more money and more investment to get the better facilities and better players and everything else in between, you're going to fall behind.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's going to come down to.
Yeah. If you don't like it, I don't know what to tell you. It's the direction college sports has been going in for a long time.
Yeah.
It is the new normal at this point.
It's going to be the new normal, yeah.
That's why this happens in 2014. This is the biggest story.
Oh, yeah.
For like a week.
Yeah.
Maybe not if, the Olympics are going on, but this is a huge story.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a huge story right now because people are kind of like, it's par for the course, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You got anything else?
No. You?
No.
All right.
Thank you. If you stuck to this point, thank you for dealing with all of our technical issues.
Yep.
This episode. Let us know who you think's going to win the ACC. Jacob. Because you're probably the only ones still watching.
Yeah.
Yeah, we hope to see you in the next one.
All right.